Uh, la, uh, welcome to the Players Lounge. Yeah. When all the moment, man, it can't compare due to the obvious.
Welcome to the 48-hour rule, a UteNation podcast. The 48-hour rule is now in effect. Everybody, welcome back to another edition of the 48-hour rule, a UteNation podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Alex Markham. I got my two mainstays back here with me again this week after a brief break for Derek, right? But Derek Tuimauga and Zack Moss, how you guys doing?
What's up, man? Doing well.
All good, all good.
Nice. Derek, did you miss us, man? We missed
Yeah,
you.
I did, man. I've been but it's okay because on X, everyone be blowing me up, man. I just give some honest takes and everyone comes at me. But nah, it's been a fun couple weeks, that's for sure.
It's
So I'm excited to get back and get talking again.
You mentioned X, man. I've had some people sit back saying, like, Alex, man, like, what have you done to the guys? They're firing off like you sometimes. Like, they're my boys, my bad. I don't know. Oh God. But yeah, no, so obviously last week we had the bye, right? And so we didn't get together for that. We did me, Zach, and Josh did the post game reaction. Other than that, took a break from some of the podcasts for the week. Really, really nice performance against Cincinnati. We don't really need to rehash that too much. But one of the big things that just hit CFP rankings. Okay. You guys both kind of have some unique, interesting perspectives from your time at the University of Utah, right? Derek was obviously during the BCS era. You guys would have been more termed as like the Boise State, James Madison types, right? And then Zach, you guys were close, right on the cusp in 2019. You guys weren't able to make it, but at the same time, too, if it was the same current setup, you guys were in. And so really in the next little bit, kind of want to get you guys' perspective, have you guys kind of have a little back and forth and me stay out of it as much as possible. But before we do that, how surprised were you guys at the initial rankings? And then, Utah didn't we're recording this on a Tuesday night. Utah didn't move up in the rankings this week. BYU fell back after losing to Texas Tech just by they fell back just one ahead of Utah, which made sense, right? I mean, they beat them head to head. But how surprised were you guys last week, and what do you guys kind of see unfolding the next little bit?
Not super surprised, honestly. I think it was, the standings is kind of spot on right now. Honestly, I think obviously you said like BYU still being in front of Utah makes a ton of sense. They beat them head to head, and they went down and lost to Texas Tech at home. Texas Tech looked really good versus them. We kind of hung pretty good up for those first three quarters, so that was encouraging because I kind of gave me a little bit more of some hope if we did have a rematch on how it would look, right? And it's always hard to beat a team twice. But I think the standings and things like that made a lot of sense right now. Utah has everything in front of them still. I don't know what BYU's schedule looks like and things like that, but Utah still has everything they want to do in front of them. They're right there. They have to have the best 3 weeks they could possibly have, and then kind of just let everything fall where it may at.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, the crazy thing is BYU's had a good season, right? But they've had some close games, and they don't have the easier schedule between them and Utah, and so these next few weeks are going to be really interesting. But Derek, what was your take on it?
Yeah, I think as Zach said, I wasn't too surprised. I do think, as you look through 9 through 11, you got Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, it is what it is at that point. I could have seen BYU being ahead of all three of those. So Cougar fans, y'all can chill out because I do see the reality of that. But on that same breath, like like Texas and Oklahoma are both going to be out. I think Texas has to play. They got Texas Tech at the end of the year at Texas Tech, or excuse me, not Texas Tech, Texas A&M at the end of the year at Texas A&M at Kyle Field. Sorry, Texas, y'all ain't getting that win. And then I think this week they got a tough match as well. Oklahoma, I think, has Alabama. So bye-bye. It's nice to see you in the top 11. Y'all are dropping. And so I do see like all this hoopla for nothing, more or less. Like it's going to work itself out. Yeah. I think both BYU and Utah will move up. What I do see it coming, what I do want Zach's take and Alex, your perspective as well, is I do kind of see that the committee is almost playing it that, okay, so if Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah all win out the rest of their regular season games, it'll be Texas Tech and BYU in the conference championship. What happens there is if Texas Tech wins that game, Utah, in my humble opinion, jumps the Cougars and gets in as an at-large bid to the college football playoffs. That's what I see, especially if Utah can handle business these last 3 games and win handily. I see that happening. I think that's how they've set it up. Obviously, if BYU wins that championship game, then I believe Texas Tech and BYU are in, rightfully so. But I do see a world that I will get some LOLs, ZZZZZs going on X if the latter happens and we get that matchup. So I'd be interested to see, like, Zach, Alex, your guys' perspective of like reading in a little bit to maybe how those rankings have shifted out.
Yeah, I can see that, honestly. I think Utah, I think everything has to deal with how Utah wins these last 3 games, right? Like they have a weaker schedule, right? And to be honest with you, they hung with both teams. They hung with BYU, right? And they were there up until the end. The scoreboard, if you watch that game, which I'm sure the committee did, right? And you look at that game versus Tech was a lot closer than, what it looked like at the final score. So it's like style points, right? Like all that matters. Like they didn't just, both of those teams didn't just handily just whoop Utah and it looked like it was just unmatched, right? So for Utah, knowing you have that on your side, right? Like you did put up good performances, even in L's. They've done the right things the last since the BYU game. Since the BYU game, they've come out and they've dominated all the teams that they were supposed to dominate, right? Like even Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a team I think can be one of those teams that can catch you up, right? Like they've done that early in the year on their win streak against some teams, and I think BYU has to play Cincinnati still at the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken. That's a game to watch. That's not going to be a game where, you just think that BYU is going to handle that without any questions. Like you still have to prepare for that game the right way because Cincinnati is a solid team. They are a team that had won 7 straight games. So you have to respect them, even though, Utah was able to go out and handle them a certain way. So Utah's done the right things the last couple of weeks by putting up a lot of points, putting up the style points, making a strong case for themselves. So they have to continue to do that the last 3 weeks so that the scenario you just made is realistic, right? Like if they go and beat a Baylor 21-17 and then they beat a Kansas or somebody, I think they have Kansas down the line, like, 30-10, that's not eye-popping. That's not, CFB worthy numbers to get in there. Like they have to go out and really, really beat them. And the great thing is it's all there for them to do that because they have their last 3 games, 2 of them on the road. And if you can go into these stadiums, right, and go put up the certain type of numbers, we can do that at home. Everybody looks a lot better at home, right? Like you talk about now going on the road and be some Warriors and some Dogs and go knock somebody out like at home at their stadium. They do that. They might get a little help, who knows, from Cincinnati, and they get a win over BYU or something like that. But even if that doesn't work, I think as long as they go out and just put up the points, right? They put up the points. They look dominant versus the teams that everybody is expecting them to look dominant against. Like they're opening against Baylor as 9.5 favorites. that game can't be close. You got to win by 20, right? Got to be win by 20. So that's my lookout on it. It's just like, how dominant can they be to really persuade, the committee to put 3 Big 12 teams in. They got to look dominant.
Alex, on that note too, one thing that Zack said that really stuck out was how they responded and came out against Cincinnati, and kind of I look back too on the 2 losses that they had. Texas Tech. What happened the next game? They had to go to West Virginia on the road, totally different, faraway time zone, not really something that you can get hyped up game for. And they responded. They came out swinging. They were able to come back and really show that they are a dominant team and someone to be messed with, right, and to be taken serious. Also, following BYU loss, how this team responds to adversity in lieu of that too, right? They came back, had dominant performance. And so that's one thing that I really feel strongly about with this team is that they have some leadership. I know we'll get into a little bit about like comparing this team to past successful teams. I'm interested to see Zach's take because I feel like his team had very similar DNA makeup to their leadership as well as, 08. But that is, I think, what I believe is a big driver for this team is that they understand what's in front of them, what they need to go do, and I feel like they're on pace to go do it. I feel like they're all moving in that direction really well.
Just to interject for you guys on that, you nailed it, and it's something that Whittingham brought up this week is that this team has extremely good leadership, and it's not. And he said it's not that the teams in the past haven't. It's for instance, last year there were so many crucial injuries at like the key positions, and that they were captains and that they were leaders, and you can only expect those guys to stay engaged so long and lead so long, and expect the other guys to want to follow their example for so long, right? And this team just I heard all off season that when it comes down to it, that Devin was another mold of rising with his leadership. And that was something that everybody noticed, like within the first few days of him being even at Utah, and so the leadership can't be understated. And when it comes down to it, I mean, they've dealt with adversity and they've punched it in the mouth. I mean, granted, they've got their 2 losses, right? And you can pick those apart all you want. You can lay blame at certain things all you want. And, whether it's injuries, whether it's analytics, there are still other things that went on with those, right? But just how they've responded, these guys know that there's no margin of error now, and they know what they have to do. And I think that that's what makes these last 3 games extremely intriguing, to where we could see a very interesting end of the season. It could end in just pandemonium at the end of this season, or it could end in extreme heartbreak because they're right there. So and one of the other things for you guys too, mentioning the 3-team thing, I do see a scenario where that can happen. How likely that is, I mean, it's nuts, right? Because I mean, people think that they'll put 6 SEC teams in before they'll put 3 Big 12 teams. How are they gonna maneuver things and maybe try to help the ACC? You just don't know. There's so many unknowns to the point where, if you asked me last week, my scenario would have been different, where it's like, Ute fans, root for BYU. Root for BYU. As much as it will pain you guys, root for BYU. Now I see a scenario where BYU could very easily lose this week to TCU. Okay. BYU has had a lot of close games. I'm not saying they will. I don't want people jumping down my throat for it, right? But they have had a lot of close games. Now we get to see how they handle adversity. Okay. To the point where, say if it's Texas Tech and somebody else in the conference championship game and it's not Utah, okay, then you want Texas Tech to win that game, because if the other team is not BYU and Utah just keeps doing what they're supposed to do and winning out, the Big 12 gets 2 teams in and Utah's one of them. It's not going to be the runner-up of the Big 12 championship game if Texas Tech wins it and the other one's not BYU, if that makes sense. So, guys, when it comes down to it, both you, I know we were talking about this before we jumped on. I can't remember if I mentioned it right off the bat. I think I did. Obviously, two different eras, two different kind of scenarios. Derek, your team dealing with the BCS. Zach, you guys being so close to the CFP. I'd love to hear back and forth with you guys on just what made those what the key elements were that made those teams special. How those teams handled adversity. Maybe at what point you guys could see how special the team was, and just take me through a back and forth on that. I'd love to hear this conversation with you guys. It's so unique.
I'll let Derek hit it first.
Uh, yeah. As I kind of think back on it, it was interesting coming in as a freshman, and really being able to see just right away, like having your eyes wide open to not having any basis to judge anything off of, but like what great leadership looks like and what player ownership looks like at such a high level. And like as I kind of look at it now, and as I built out sales teams and things like that, I look and I see that '08 team specifically, like most of them came in right after Urban left, and they went through the dog years. Like I remember hearing stories of that first camp under Witt, of like just Witt was out to get them, and grind through people, and like and they had to go through a lot of like I think they had some hard seasons, right? Like it wasn't anything great, but there were some character building years that built these players into being great owners and great stewards of the team. And to me, that's essentially what stood out so much in that BCS team, was that these guys had been through it, but they took ownership of the lessons that they learned in previous years, and that they truly were the ones that were leading the team forward. It was a very player accountable team. And, you know, even being a freshman coming in, like I felt the pressure right away from those seniors and those upperclassmen to like, hey, this is the standard that we go by, and you need to live up to this. And it just created this different atmosphere that I think just when those tough times came, when those close games came against TCU, Oregon State, a couple other close games throughout the year, big time games where they had to step up against, going to Michigan in the big house, like guys rose to those occasions because they all relied upon each other, and they built that player accountability. And so that was probably the main thing I saw. I'm sure Zach has very similar takes because I think they had a very similar trajectory, but I'd love to hear Zach's take on his team.
Yeah, for our 19 team being so close, I think that Oregon game, the Pac-12 championship game, going into that Pac-12 game versus them, I think we were ranked either 5 or 6 in the country. And at the time, I know it was the 4-team thing. And I remember talking to guys like, yo, like we felt very strong about how being able to go out there and go beat Oregon. And that Oregon team was really good. Like that's a team that for some reason doesn't get a lot of credit, like how good they were. Like realistically, like having Herbert, having Sewell, having the other Sewell brother at linebacker. They got a guy play tight end for them. I believe he's I think it's Jawan. Can't remember if I'm saying his name correctly, but he's a tight end. He plays for the Saints right now. He's been starting last 3-4 years, something like that, right? And then that was a really good team overall, very well coached, the whole nine. Like they were really good up and down. But I remember we were just talking about like, oh, let's win this game, right? And they might give it to us because I think we had been on that maybe a 7 or 8 straight win streak at that time, and we were handling people pretty good, and we felt good because I think it was on Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma got in that year and got demolished, I think, by LSU in the first round of things. But we were like, man, we're gonna be right there. But like our leadership, I think really stemmed from the experience we had on the team, right? Like we had a lot of guys who were seniors that had been started for 3 years minimum, right? Like you had a lot of dudes that had a lot of playing time also as freshmen, right? Like our whole 2016 class literally played from day one. I can't even recall anyone who redshirted that year that came in that was a high recruit for the school that year. You had Blackman and Burgess and Lanai, Fotu, John Pennicini, like we got so many dudes, and I'm forgetting some dudes on the D line right now that were just dogs that we learned as we went. Like I always felt like our 2017 team was the first glimpse of what we could be. Like the guys who were going from that 16 class, and we were like, okay, we were fine. We were trying to figure out like what's our leadership, how do we be leaders? We still have some, you know how it is. We still have some guys from the old classes that are still upperclassmen, and they still kind of run the team essentially, but they not the players right now. So it's like we were still listening to those guys, but then also trying to like forge our own path. And I feel like we were able to do that at the back end of the year. Like if people really recall that 17 team, we struggled early in the year, kind of middle of the year for sure, kind of started turning things. And then that back end, we just figured it out and got bowl eligible in the last game of the year. And we went to go play West Virginia, and like we dominated them the way we wanted to. And from that point on, when we came into 18, like everybody had a goal and a mission was to get to the Pac-12 championship game because we knew we had the talent, and obviously we were doing some really good things. But the guys that we had, I think, like I said, it comes from the experience we had. Like, and we were in our leadership didn't look like rah rah and all that type of stuff. Our leadership looked like holding everybody accountable in their own room, right? Like when the guys looked at me, right, they knew I had my room, was ready to go, right? They didn't have to worry about, okay, if Zach's not in, essentially like, damn, what's about to happen, right? Like somebody gonna drop a pass, miss a block, miss a run, fumble, right? Like we were held accountable in our room. And then it was the same thing for every room, right? Like I never had to be like, yo, get your D line or get your linebackers like ready to go, whatever it is. Like all those guys, right, were ready to go and had their rooms ready because we wanted the talent. All those guys played in the league, right? Had the talent and we had the experience. And for us, that was our leadership. Like we never had to come together in a team, like had to have a what's it called a team only meeting, right? We never had to do that because everybody just held each other accountable from their rooms. Like, yo, Zach, get your room back, or yo, Lucky, get your room, or something like that. Like if that was necessary, then we would do it like that. But we had good leaders. We had guys that were just all different, that we all meshed well together. We all really liked each other, which is huge. People don't understand like how much, hanging with guys off the field builds so much camaraderie. So now when it's time to be a leader, and maybe you might end up being type of an asshole type leader in that one moment, right? It hits different from when you've bonded with these guys off the field, right? Like not only in the weight room, right? When you have to be essentially in the same facility, like at the dorm or go eat together, stuff like that. Like just doing all those different things and guys getting to know each other. So we had a lot of that, which was special. And I think for me, 17 was the year that West Virginia game, that last game of the year, when I knew I was like, yo, we have a chance to do some really. We wanted to be the first team, right? But obviously we didn't get a chance to do that. But 17, that last game was when I knew we could be special. And if you look at the roster going into 18 and then the roster at 19, a lot of those dudes were the same guys on the teams that won in 21 and 22 the Pac-12 championship game, because one, they saw how we did it, right, and how every team was accountable. And then when you add a guy like with super level of leadership and how he played, and that makes people want to play even harder for him, like Rising. Now you put that into that, right? Like that's a lot. And Rising set and learned from a lot of those dudes and things like that. And being in Loveway's system for a couple of years and just being able to sit behind the scenes and kind of see it, like Rising was working hard even when he was redshirted. Like he would sit up in the box with the coaches and like really understand what was trying to happen and things like that. So it wasn't no surprise when you saw him just get things rolling like that the way he was. So like for me, the 21, 22 teams that won the back-to-back, like I always take a lot of, like pride and just happiness in those teams because a lot of those dudes were underclassmen, and that makes you feel as a leader on those teams in 18, 19, like, yo, we probably didn't get the hardware right for our own selves, but we passed something along to guys that they were able to take and go be successful with. And I mean, that's really all you want as a leader, right? Can't always get the wins, right? It's about continuing to passing things on and moving the needle.
Yeah, that's the last thing I'll say to that too. Zach hit an interesting point that I think gets skimmed over is the relationships off the field outside the weight room. Like one thing that there was no group of guys from totally different backgrounds that just we're past the statute of limitations. Like we partied our asses off together in a way. Like, and it was from 17-year-old freshmen up to 24-year-old seniors. Like it was just a different feeling. Like you can't really put it into words, but like the family on three type of thing. Like we probably see it in a little different light than what Wit wants to put it through it at. But it's true in every sense of the word. Like those were special years. You had dudes from inner city Compton, California, and like Provo, just kicking it with each other, like out of the blue. Like you just show up to somebody's house, you're like, that's an interesting group, and like, and it just was like it just all meshed, and so yeah, I'm interested to see like how this team kind of has that because I think that's an underrated part of like what's made some of the Utah teams successful in the past, what Zach had said with their team. 08 definitely, and then what I know of like 04, that was very, very in line with that too.
Hey Derek, just a quick answer from you on this one, but everybody says that Alabama probably didn't take the Sugar Bowl serious. How serious did you guys honestly take it when you guys were out there?
No, we took it. It was serious, but we were serious in everything. We were serious about the game. We were serious about Bourbon Street. Like we approached everything with the same serious nature. Like there was no one that partied harder than Utah football that week, and no one played harder than the guys that went on the field. I cheered harder than any other cheered, that obviously because I got more camera time than any other dude on the sideline on that game. But no, man, that was the mentality of those years, and it was a little different. I mean, because you just had it was a different kind of guy, different kind of recruit, and I think Zach's 18 team had very similar tendencies in that, and so yeah, story for another day, but for sure.
For sure. And we got to wind this one down a little faster than typical because Zach's got a little movie date that he's going to be going on here. Zach, what movie are you going to be going to, man?
What's the new movie that just came out? Black Phone 2. That's the one.
Oh, okay.
Scary movie. I don't know if you guys seen it.
Yeah.
I saw the highlights.
I think I've seen a portion of the preview, so you're definitely not taking the kids to that one.
No. They'll be knocked out.
Nice. Hey, so before kicking over to Baylor really quick and getting some predictions on how you guys expect it to go down, I do just want a quick response from you guys on this one question because you both said something that piqued my interest, okay? You both talked about how, Derek, you talked about how there were a lot of guys from that 08, not a lot, but some core guys from that 08 team that experienced the 04 team. Okay. Zach, you talked about how there were a lot of key guys from the 21 and 22 seasons that got to experience the 2019 or 2018, whatever. Okay. With the NIL era and the transfer portal, that's kind of gone by the wayside now. So it's like it's not as easy to be able to have those things to relate on and be able to build the program that way. So how can somebody like Utah be able to maintain some of the roots of that, some of the nuts and bolts of that in this kind of an era going forward, because it's a much more unique animal.
You got to pay to play. As simple as that. Like, I mean, I love that Utes have been able to recruit so many different people and, mesh everybody together, and guys really play for each other. And name on the front, not name on the back, right? Like, I love that part. But like you said, with NIL, right, like, money matters. And especially in this economy right now, like, every single dollar is premium and it matters, right? So, like, for them to stay, one thing is recruiting, and I think that's the really good thing. They've been able to recruit for years. Now, if they can just match that now with the funds, right? They have a chance to really be dominant in this conference for a long time. But the money has to be there, right? Like, it sucks because it's college and you don't want to think about it in that scenario and in that type of stuff like that. But it is what it is, right? Like, Texas Tech wasn't good no year. like a lot of people forget that Patrick Mahomes went to Texas Tech. Like, people really don't think that. You know what I mean? It's not like oh yeah, if you ask a young kid, where did Patrick Mahomes go to? No one was watching Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. Like, the game he threw for like 500 plus yards, I think he played Baker Mayfield that game. I never even saw that. Never heard of it years later. So, and I played. So I know for a fact, if you don't play, right, and things like that, and you don't live in Texas, right, you don't have no idea. So it's like Texas Tech, right, is the greatest example. You have to pay to play, right? It really doesn't matter how well you recruit, right? As long as you have the money to recruit, and that's what matters. And the good thing is we can have both. We got really good recruiting, right? Really, really good recruiting, right? Now, if we can figure out how to continue to get those funds to go up against your in-state rival down the road, right? Right. Everybody talks about their funds, right? If we can figure that out, how do we rival that, right? This team, the program has a chance to continue to be very, very relevant and not just be a team that wins 8 games every year, 7 games, 8 games, 9 games, right? You kind of just in that same spot, right? And that's just my take on it.
Zach said it perfectly. You can recruit to about 10 wins. You need to pay for the extra 2 to 3, man, and that's just the reality of it. That's it's the cream on top.
Yeah.
It's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, when it comes down to it, building a team and relying on that leadership that way that you guys were able to, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So it's a unique time in college football. So, all right, guys, let's kick in very, very briefly to Baylor. What you guys expect? We'll do 2 over-unders. I'll remember the 0.5 this time, Zach. And hey, just want to give a shout out. Everybody boycott Gatorade. All right, so it's all BodyArmor right now. So it's a game everybody wants to forget, right? But that's my replacement for Kava this week. Yeah. So when it comes down to it, guys, Baylor's got a hell of a passing attack. They're top 10 in the country. Utah is, when it comes down to it, they're the number 1 P4 team in the entire country when it comes to rushing offense, right? And so, rushing offense wise, okay. Utah, I'm not going to tell you what they're averaging. So, in this game, let's go over under Utah rushing for 275 yards rushing. Do I need to do the 0.5, Zach?
Hey, that's your thing. It's up to you.
Hey, I know. Good old Brian had to make me feel bad. Jeez. Damn it, Blacken.
I'll take. I believe they average like around 250-ish, somewhere around there is what they're doing right now. I think a little bit over 5.5 per carry, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So I'll take the over. I'll take the over. Guys coming off another bye week right now. They'll be feel even more fresh, things like that. So I'll take the over.
Cool. Derek, what do you got? And then I'll tell you guys what it looks like.
Yeah, I'll say I'll take the under, but I think coming off the bye, and the reason why I say that is I think we'll be slightly below, but I'm looking for coming off the bye week some third level passes to open some things up. We'll see if we can connect on this week.
Cool. I'm going to go with the over, but that's not fair for me to be able to pick that because I got the numbers in front of me. Utah is averaging 267 yards a game. Okay. Baylor is 111th in the entire country when it comes to rushing defense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Utah should have a field day. So, one more, and then we're going to do predictions and get Zack out of here. All right. So let's see. Baylor, like I said, prolific passing attack. I don't think Utah, I don't think they get what they've been averaging against this Utah defense. I'm gonna go over under 275.5 passing yards for Sawyer and Baylor.
Ooh, super under. Super under. The way you said they're ranked 111th in rushing defense. When you got the number one rushing team coming in, you won't see that ball that much. That clock is not going to be your friend. That clock
Like
is not going to be your friend. So I'll go under.
Under.
Yeah.
Secondary going to show up again. No fly zone. I feel it.
Love it. Let's see. Yeah, so they're passing offense. They are fifth in the country, 312 yards per game. So I agree with you guys on it, though. That's a great point on Utah's going to control the clock the majority of this game, and so if they get it, they're going to have to hit on some big ones for sure. So, all right, guys, predictions, and then let's get Zack out of here.
Zack.
I think I go 35-10. It is just good enough with running the ball the way they're going to run the ball. I don't feel like they have that many possessions on offense. I feel like I don't know how many turnovers we'll get. I won't say it's a high turnover game for our defense to get a lot of those today, this upcoming week. So I'll go 35-10. I think the clock is just not going to allow them to do a little bit more damage. I don't know. Unless we break something. Who knows?
Yeah. It'd be nice to break some. I'm in that same realm. I was thinking 38-17. I think Baylor will try and air it out on a couple, but I think we're gonna be handily running. So I think we could win handily at 38-17.
Man, you guys are thinking right along the lines I've been thinking. So Derek actually took my score. So I am going to adjust slightly because, Utah knows they need to put up points, right? They also know that they need to do everything they can on defense. I'm going to go, let's go 41-17 Utah. Sorry, Baylor fans. Everybody might sound like homers on this one, but Utah is rolling, and I don't see it stopping. At least this week. Do you guys? Yeah.
No, not a chance. There you go.
Yeah.
They're gonna roll.
So, all right, boys. Well, Zack, how do we end these, man?
Yeah. Appreciate you guys always tuning in with us. Make sure you guys continue to like, subscribe. Make sure you hit us up on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. As always, go Utes.
Appreciate you, boys.
Later, y'all. Enjoy the movie, Zack.
Yep.
Welcome to the players' lounge. Yeah. Well, no, the moment, man, it can't compare due to the obvious. People look at me and then they envious. And they the ones that be grinning and acting the friendliest. Yeah. Things are moving in the right direction. Making sure I'm keeping things up in the right perspective.